Well, I guess we
Actually,
can just start going around and introducing ourselves. So I'm Cameron Meyer. I'm a junior at De La Salle High School, and that is in Concord. Um, I play tennis. I'm interested in biology, much like you are, um, although synthetic biology. Um, and I'm interested in specifically cancer research as well. So those are two things that really drive me. And yeah, Caitlin.
well, can
I'm
I break
Caitlin.
and just say that's pretty focused already for somebody. You're junior, you said?
Yeah, I'm a junior. Yep.
That's pretty focused. Congratulations. You guys seem to be
Thank you.
pretty much together.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, Caitlin.
No, it's okay. I'm Caitlin. I'm a sophomore at Monte Vista in Danville. And I'm really interested in art. So, because I want to be an architect when I grow up. Really interested in design stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, super, an architect. That's like a super good blend of art and all kind of stuff, science and technology.
Awesome.
Yeah, except Caitlin has frozen. Or I have frozen. Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna start.
Yeah, you're
As,
breaking up, so I'll just start. So can you talk a little bit about sort of your science background? Because, we read that um, you're interested in physics and biophysics and supercomputing. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that kind of played a big part in your career and in your life?
I spent a long time at school. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Wasted my youth. Um, yeah, well, I thought when I was about your age that I wanted to be a physicist, and that's where I was working at. So after I got out of high school, I went to the University of Michigan and enrolled in undergraduate with LS&A with a focus on physics and math. And it's been 4 years doing that. And anyway, loved it. Now, the thing I
Mhm.
didn't like, I was a little bit more immature than you are, I think. And so everything else they made me do, like learn a foreign language or take an art class or English writing or something, I went, oh, pshaw, I don't want to do that.
Right.
So my advice would be to spend just as much time on those things as on the majors because they're just as important in
Mhm.
real life and in making a career. Being able to, I'm wandering a bit, but being able to communicate and write in a career is absolutely as important as subject matter knowledge. So I think those things are important. Um, I graduated with a bachelor's of science. I had worked in the for some scientists. I got a research. My first couple of years at Michigan, I worked in the dormitories washing dishes. But then I was fortunate enough, one of professors there asked me if I would like to be an assistant to research. And that worked out to be a life changer, really. As part of it, I learned to operate an electron microscope and use that to assist scientists in material science, biology, a number of things, just using a microscope. So I learned a lot about their stuff. And I learned a lot about microscopy. And so my first job after getting a graduate degree, I went to work at what was called then the Hanford Project.
Right.
That's where they made the plutonium for the second atomic bomb up in
Oh,
Richland, Washington.
wow.
It's since been renamed the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Anyway, I went there, and my job was as a material scientist and taking over an electron microscopy lab. And we did research on nuclear materials, which was kind of weird. I mean, we take these little hot little things and put them in the microscope. And, again,
Mhm.
it was a very good job. So I learned a lot about science and stuff. But it was clear that I needed to get further along in education if I was going to be a real scientist. Is this taking too long? Is this the answer you're looking
Oh,
for?
this is perfect. Yeah, no, I really love hearing about this. Go ahead.
So, I mean, it became abundantly clear that with a bachelor level degree, you weren't going to get, very far in terms of a scientific career.
Mhm.
So I went, that was in Washington, the closest, well, the university that first of all would let me in and was nearby was Oregon State University in Corvallis.
Okay.
So I went into a master's program there and 2 years later got a master's in physics. But I think I wrote in the bio, I took a biophysics course the first time I'd sort of touched on anything like that. And as I said, in my undergraduate, anything other than physics or math, like pshaw, and biology was one of those things I couldn't care about. But it became very apparent that biology holds an awful lot of interesting things to do scientifically. I was fortunate enough to be offered a fellowship to Berkeley, and I went and studied there, finally graduating a long time ago. I don't know if you'll understand this joke, but I took chemistry so long ago that the only 4 elements were fire, air, earth, and water. Anyway,
Nice.
all the things I'd done in physics, all the things I'd done as a research, they all kind of paid out. And I did my degree work, and I spent 2 years at Lawrence Berkeley Lab as a postdoc. And a lot of that, that's where supercomputing came in. On that research, I did a lot of computer graphics and used the big machines at Lawrence Berkeley Lab, and got interested in the application of high performance computing to biological and other problems. Anyway, I left the lab and I went to the commercial world as kind of an analyst at a place called Control Data, where at that time famous for the most highest performance computing systems in the world. I think that's the answer to your question, over a long stated.
Oh, no, that was great. Really interesting career and sort of academic pathway, and then going into the corporate world. That's really awesome and quite inspiring. Caitlin, do you want to ask something?
Yeah, so wait, am I breaking up? Because I know before I was.
You're good.
Your audio is okay now.
Okay. So what like drew you to science? Like, were you always interested in science before, going into this career? Or was it just something that you gradually grew to like really be interested in?
Oh, I think far back as I can remember, probably initiated by reading probably way too much science fiction. But yeah, and I really like math a lot. And as I don't know, physics just seemed like what do you call it? A search for truth. I kind of thought that's the fundamentals of everything is physics, right? And so math and physics, just since I was a kid, that's what I wanted to do, is be a scientist.
That's awesome. Great. So I read in your bio that you're involved with the STEM club at the Senior Center. What do you guys do for that club? How does that function?
Well, it started out, it was a pre-pandemic. A little aside here, this has been a weird year, and I think for you guys at your age, it's been even weirder than it is for us guys who are retired and we don't care if we go anywhere or not. So yeah. I'd like to ask you a question. I'll get back to answering your question, but I'd like to ask you how this whole thing is affecting you. It would be interesting. I had an interest in it. There's here in Danville and surrounding environments, there's an awful lot of retired professional guys who've been engineers, scientists, worked for Lawrence Livermore, that kind of thing. And kind of thought, well, let's find some way to get together with these guys and shoot the bull about our favorite topics. So Leah and the Senior Center were just very gracious about it. They provide the facilities. We got together, really nice facilities, and we started with just maybe a half a dozen people. We got advertised in Silver Streak, and it grew to as many as just before the pandemic set in, we got up to a number of people who were violating the fire rules, I think, for packing the room.
Wow.
And then the stupid pandemic happened. And since then, we've been doing this virtually via Zoom. And how it works is we get a speaker who either as a hobby or as a career, we're really focused on some topic. We've had guys who worked in jet engines. We've had people, a tunnel engineer who worked on the new board of the Caldecott Tunnel, and he talked to us about how they build big tunnels. We've had talks on biology, cardiology. We got several amateur astronomers in the group, and they give presentations on various aspects of astronomy. And when nobody will speak about anything, then I do a presentation usually called Current News in Science. And so I get to subscribe to Science Magazine, AAAS publication, and 4 or 5 topics interest me, and I put together a little PowerPoint. And then it's a discussion group as well. People just chime in because they're pretty much all, former science and engineering guys. So that's how that works.
That's awesome. That sounds like a really fun group to be a part of.
Could I turn it around and ask you, both, each of you are separate or whatever, okay, besides being a pain in the neck, how's the pandemic treating you? Maybe Caitlin first, because I haven't heard from her.
Yeah, it's been pretty, I don't know. At the beginning, I was like pretty excited for it because it was like a month off of school, so I was just like I was down for that. But then after I think the 1 month period, it was really difficult because I think in terms of school, I really do learn better with a teacher in a classroom. And so doing it virtually online and like sometimes asynchronous without the teacher, it's been a little bit harder for me to, do like really understand what I'm learning. And for like extracurriculars and stuff, I'm so out of shape. I haven't done field hockey in like, I don't know, 6 months at this point. So it's been pretty tough too. Obviously there are other opportunities like online. Like right now I'm working with a team as like a part of this Google program for like kids in high school, and we like kind of created a chat box for like specifically for food banks, and it's already been put on one food bank's website in like San Jose. And so I guess that's really been keeping me busy. It requires a lot of work, a lot of presentations, which I really don't like. Even virtually, that still is not my strong suit. But other, I guess I'm I'm now I think I'm pretty indifferent to it. I think it was a cycle of emotions out there.
Well, it's going to go on for a little while longer, I'm afraid, too. So I'm glad that you, I'm glad that you come around and sort of living with it. Yeah. And Cameron?
Yeah, so no, I agree with Caitlin in, in the fact that in-person school is so much better interacting with your friends and teachers. I just learn better. I'm in the zone. I'm more focused, and doing it, doing school in my bedroom is just not, not conducive to learning at all. So, yeah, I definitely miss, going back to school every single day. Although I do go back twice a week. So I was at school today, and that was really nice. But overall, I think I've actually had a positive experience because I've had time to kind of slow down, um, and take some time to do the things like I enjoy doing. So it's not just school, get home late, practice, and then, barely any time for myself, and, the stuff I'm interested in doing. So it's definitely given me more time to do fun things, and, help out and explore different interests. Um, on the science side, though, it hasn't been good because I've been trying to get into a lab at Berkeley, for synthetic biology. And before it would have been easier, but now, emailing professors is not as effective because they're barely even letting Berkeley students go into the lab. So, that was kind of my biggest that's the biggest downside, I guess, not being able to get out there and go assist in the lab, at a very basic level. So yep.
Yeah, that is a downer. Everything else, as Caitlin said, kind of adapted pretty well, but not having a chance to get in the lab, which would be a really good experience for you, is a drag.
Right.
Okay, anyway, thank you.
Yep. All right, Caitlin, do you want to ask?
Oh yeah, so I heard that you also tutor for math and science. So what drew you to tutoring? Because I mean, I tutor as well, but it's more like what is, I forgot what it's called when you just do it independently, but it's, I mean, like it's not that I necessarily want to do tutoring, but for any other job you have to be 16. Since I'm only 15, that's kind of the job option I was kind of like put into. But for you, now that you're retired, what really drew you to tutoring?
When I was your age, I had a paper route. Talking about a job you could get. I'm kidding, but because I don't even think there are papers anymore, home delivered. I don't know. or anybody who reads them. What drew me into it was I just had time on my hand. And I, I just, it was all pretty, I had time on my hands, and I do like the Stanford, the Senior Center, I kind of like, being around math and the science. And unfortunately, I like to hear myself talk too. And I was looking for something, and I was just walking, I was actually coming back from a haircut here in Danville, and there was a place called the Tutor Club right next door. And I walked in and I said, how's the tutor thing work? And the guy, anyway, told me. And so I just started, okay, I'll give it a try. So I started going in, and some of it was with really younger kids with, even 7 and 8, and even doing reading and stuff. And it was just kind of fun. I haven't been around kids in a million years, and so that was just kind of neat. And then every once in a while, I could actually do something that was kind of helpful for the kids. Once in a while you see their eyeballs kind of light up, and they're kind of getting something that they were having trouble with before. So it was quite satisfying. I haven't tried to do any virtual tutoring. When that came to an end in person, I sort of threw it in. I'm thinking about, I'm at the early thinking about it stage, but it started accidentally, and just I had time on my hands, and the thought of actually doing something good for someone kind of helped out a little bit. And I started doing it and found it very enjoyable to work with the kids. So there you go.
That's awesome. What type of math are you most interested in?
What kind of math?
Mm-hmm.
It's how to explain this. Once you get through algebra, you get into calculus.
Right.
Are you taking calculus?
I'm taking pre-calc honors.
Great.
So.
That's kind of you too?
Both taking honors pre-calc.
Yeah. And calculus is kind of called like the first step in the general area of analysis. Mm-hmm. And that leads, then there's a kind of advanced calculus. You get into differential equations. You get into something called topology, which is very generalized on the idea of, it's a very generalized idea of geometry. I don't know if it makes sense. So calculus leads into the analysis, and then topology is kind of built on top of that. Which again, it's kind of like calculus, only you don't work just in 3-dimensional spaces. You don't work with the kind of like you're working with the real line. Well, you don't have to have a real line at topology. You can have some other kind of shape. And coming up the side of that, the other thing I liked a lot was algebra. And there's the algebra that you've taken, which is x plus y, and then there's algebra you may or may not have done, where you have some objects, some operators, like A dot B, is equivalent to C. So groups and so on. So there's a way to come up and blend algebra with topology to where it's kind of like a mapping between a topological shape and an algebraic structure. And you study the topological shape by the algebra and the algebra by the topological shape. I don't know where I lost you on that one, but that's kind of the area of math that I still have as a hobby work on, is something called algebraic topology. Right?
Okay, that's awesome. That's really cool.
So and the short version of that, in algebraic topology, you spend your time figuring out how many holes there are in an object.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Caitlin?
So we have a couple minutes left. So as like a closing question, I just wanted to ask, have you taken your time during this quarantine to, learn something new, like an instrument, or just like delve more into different types of sciences that maybe you want to revisit that you've already learned, or something like that?
Yes, but not enough of it. The pandemic has been affecting me, causing me to be increasingly lazy. I don't have to get up in the morning, so I don't get up in the morning. And onward like that. But yes, I am doing that. As I said, my hobby with the mathematics, working on that. The STEM thing for the seniors is part of that, because I have to research whatever topic it is. If whenever I'm presenting, I have to research the whole thing in depth to actually understand it. So yeah, I've been doing that. I had intended to learn to play ukulele, but I haven't started that. And the last thing is that I had committed to myself early on that I was going to stay keeping myself physically fit. You're talking about missing field hockey. Well, I miss tennis. You probably miss tennis. I miss doing a lot of things. And so I've been forcing myself as best I can to go out and walk or cycle or go to the gym. I was really happy when the gyms opened up again after all that time. So yeah, I'm doing exactly what you said. I'm kind of delving into the science of stuff, and I'm trying to stay healthy, but I'm not doing enough of any of it.
When, pre-pandemic, how did you play tennis, in what capacity? Did you just grab like a doubles part or a singles partner, or yeah.
The neighborhood has a bunch of senior tennis players,
Okay.
and I just played a bunch of double. We just yeah. I didn't do a USTA or any of that stuff. I haven't been around that in a long time, but it's just a really good bunch of guys, a dozen of us, and we just take over the courts and play a couple of days a week. That's what I really enjoyed. That I missed that a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I miss tennis too. I mean, I've had the opportunity to do like I guess these unofficial practices at Monte Vista at the courts down there. Just haven't had the time to go there. So, but yeah, I definitely need to get back into the tennis groove as well.
Yeah, it feels, I really enjoy that. And I've started, oh my God, talk about getting old. I've started playing golf.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.